There's alchemy in the air tonight. We're looking at alchemy in everyday life. Alchemy is all about change. It's all about the little soupçons of things that you can add or take away that changes things in many varied ways. And some of them are quite joyful. So we'll start introducing ourselves, although, by this time you should know us. But we'll start with Mary, since this is yours.
Okay, I'm Mary Corbett. I'm a coach. I'm based out of just outside Cork in Ireland, and I work mainly with mid-career professionals, especially the ones who get made redundant, and we help them find new jobs, new careers, and the next phase of their lives with joy. We create alchemy.
Cool. Willie?
Good evening. I'm Willie Nicol, the cop turned coach, former police officer, corporate security manager, and now a personal development and mindset change coach. Must be some alchemy in there.
Mm.
I specialise in helping stressed out men get their lives back and rediscover their mojo.
Angela?
I'm Angela Daye and I work wonders with kinesiology. I help people to transform from being in pain to not being in pain, and from allergies to being able to do and be and feel comfortable with whatever they're eating, doing, or feeling and stuff. Yeah, very much.
Okay. And I'm Leslie Marsh, and I'm so into alchemy because basically all of us here are, and I'm talking about you too, everybody in the world, because we're always changing. Everything we do can help us to change, and everything we don't do can sometimes keep us stuck. And we kind of take you out and kick you out of that stuck part and start you moving forward again. That's our job, really. And it can be quite magical. It can be quite mysterious. So I'm going to ask for, and here we go, because this is good, instances when you have noticed that you have actually caused a little bit of alchemy in a client's life. Willie, you're into mojo. You know all about this.
Well, harking back to my very first client who was going through a marriage breakup, had gone a wee bit off track. His life had gone off piste, shall we say, in the skiing terms. And he had definitely lost his mojo, which we agreed upon. We then did a coaching program and he got his life back on track and he got his mojo back and he still keeps in contact with me to this day, nearly 7 years later. And that was a change which was effected by himself with a little bit of gentle nudging from me. I didn't change him, he changed himself with a few hints.
That's it, though. People don't realise that it's actually all about them doing the work. Them actually. We're just like the air people. They can't all call them hostesses anymore. I'm not entirely sure what you call them. Flight attendants. The exits are here and here and here, and it's up to you whether, when you're crashing, if you're going to take them or not. So, Angela, what about you?
I'm horrified by that analogy, but there we go. So I would say that I facilitate the change rather than I stand there and go where the exits are. One of my clients recently told me off actually last week because I didn't call her out and talk about the transformation we had in her life in the networking meeting. I thought, well, I don't tend to actually call out my clients. They can tell everybody how wonderful I am, but I don't tend to single them out and point to them on the screen. She did come to me with hay fever. She came to me with the problem that when hay fever strikes for her, it can actually have her put in bed for weeks until it all clears out of her system if she's had a particularly bad attack. And she likes to run. I don't understand this. This does not compute for me, but she likes to run in the mornings. And unfortunately, that is when she was discovering the pollen was at the worst where she currently lives. And so, yeah, one session and she's now able to comfortably run. I don't understand that again. Comfortably. She is able to comfortably run without massive sneezing, eyes running, sore nose, and it going into her chest. So even just one session of clearing stuff out for her has made a massive impact in her life and being able to enjoy what she enjoys.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
would take a hell of a
I
lot of
don't get it.
it would take a hell of a lot of alchemy and probably Hugh Jackman and Brad Pitt to make me run anywhere. Mary.
I'm going to talk about, I have two clients at the moment, and they've both the same experience because they were both facing that age called 65 and retirement, and it wasn't sitting with them. So realizing that they had a choice and they could re-envisage it and call it the designing the next phase of their life has just been a gorgeous alchemy, and they're still going to do things that feed their sense of purpose. So it's actually really fascinating watching them change for something that they were in reality dreading to something that they are actually now can't wait to get started. So it's wonderful.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because for a long time now, and I'm talking decades, we've been getting told that 50 is the new 40 and 60 is the new 50 and 70 is the new 60 and stuff like that, because we are actually spending more time at work. We're spending more time being more active in our pursuits. So we're not like they used to be in the 40s and 50s, sitting there going, well, I'm like hitting 60 now, so I'm going to sit in my chair, get my slippers, get my pipe, and just sit there and not do anything. And then die. So we tend to sort of think about, no, there's a lot more that we could be doing. We could be changing our lives. We could be doing different things. Or we forget that that's a possibility. And that is the thing, that's to be reminded of that possibility. And a lot of people, I don't know about you, I was sitting at a wedding recently, and there were two photographers, ladies, and the singer, that lady. And they were having a chat. And of course, I was earwigging, because as you do. And some of the language that was coming out from them about self-suppression and this idea that they could only go so far in their careers, and telling somebody about things that they'd achieved would be boasting. And I just had to say, excuse me a minute, just hang on. What are you talking about? How is anybody supposed to know what you can do if you don't tell them? And it's something that we keep saying the story, we keep repeating the story again and again and again, and we get in a loop. And I think we're kind of getting more, let's go into the strings and leave the loops alone, see where we can take that thread. So how do we do that? When do we do it? And have we done it for ourselves? Angela?
I'm a bit lost because you meandered around. How do we do what exactly? Blow our own trumpets?
Well, yeah, or yeah, definitely. Let's go for that one. Let's take that one. You can have the blowing of the trumpet.
The biggest challenge is to put aside those limits, and whether it's a limiting belief, whether it's that this is the box that you've been put into, it's putting that aside and being able to appreciate that there's more to it than just this little box that you've been told you've got to go into by yourself, by other people, by your teachers, by your parents, by society. And I think in the UK, I think we do, and I'm guessing Ireland's got a similar attitude as well, Mary, that we do have this need to not blow our own trumpet, to not be too big for our britches, and actually stick in the box that we were assigned, and don't get, yeah, don't start showing off, because I think that's a lot of the part of it as well. We're expected, or we're seen to be showing off if we say we've done this, that, and the next thing. And interestingly, it's not just us saying we can't show off. If other people stand there and say, this is what I've done and this is what I've done, there's a lot of us still in our mindset, because it's not the done thing. Who do they think they are? So we're doing it to ourselves as well as other people. And it's about understanding that, why does it have to be a bad thing to state facts, to tell the truth? And at the same
But I
time,
think that
from what we do, if we don't go out there and tell people these are the changes that we can help people find in their lives, these are the transformations that our clients are having, then we're doing them a disservice. So we need to get over that ourselves to then help our clients and the wider population stand up and be proud of what they've done and what they've achieved.
But I think that the part of this and the bit that comes back to finding the joy of it in every day is actually acknowledging to yourself, I did a good job today. I actually did. And I'm actually
I'm
proud
proud
of
of
it.
me.
I'm proud of me. I mean, one of the things I do a lot of work with, especially with people who say have been made redundant who go into new jobs, I say, look, you're not going to be getting praise probably for the first few weeks in the job because you're going to be learning everything and they're teaching them. I said, write it down at the end of the day. Write down on a notebook, what did I learn today? Have that little transformation that you actually connect that I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm developing. And it's power, it sounds really simple when you say it out loud, but when you're the person experiencing it, it's powerful. You're giving yourself that feedback. Yeah, actually, I am learning. And it's particularly with people, say, who are in their 40s and 50s who think, oh my God, I have to learn all this new stuff. And it's amazing the numbers who think they can't learn new stuff in their 50s. I don't understand it personally. But it's when you see them say, oh, I am learning stuff. I can still learn. There's still new stuff for me. And they embrace it and the joy they get on realizing I'm just as capable now as I was when I thought I could take on the world in my early 20s.
Mm.
They have the same skill sets. They're just slightly different, a little bit more mature, well, maybe a little bit of the rough edges off them. They're still there.
I'm wondering if we inherit also the judgmentality in our lives because we were brought up that way and the people who were teaching us how to judge were brought up that way as well. What do you think, Willie?
I agree that there's a kind of societal imposition that you don't blow your own trumpet. You don't be Johnny Big Cigar, that you don't shout from the rooftops about your achievements. And coming from that kind of background, and here I'll admit that on Monday was my 70th birthday. So I come from a group that where it was just shut up, be seen, not heard, all that kind of thing. It's entirely wrong. Why should we not celebrate our achievements? Why should we not celebrate other people's achievements? When I was a police officer in a supervisory position, if one of my cops had done something good, I would say, good job, well done. And you could see them, shoulders back, right? They appreciated it. I didn't do it if it wasn't merited, but I did it because they deserved it. And if somebody says to me, good job, Willie, I'll say, thank you. When clients say, thank you very much, I've had people, without being modest, saying, you have helped me change my life. And there's no greater, I think, compliment that anyone could pay you. And they pay you as well, by the way. It's just, it makes me feel ecstatic. And I will repeat that. This client told me I helped him change his life. Why would I not? Because it's the truth. And why were we reluctant to tell the truth? If we don't acknowledge our own achievements and publicise them, not in a boastful manner, but publicise them, how will people know how good we are and how we can help them and how we attract them to us to say, yeah, I can help you with that because I've helped other people with that. How about it? So to me, there's no barrier for praising yourself or praising other people where appropriate.
There's the thing that used to happen. We used to have a word of mouth situation where if somebody came to you and they had a great experience, they would go and tell all their friends. Oh, here, I know that you're doing that and that's happening to you. Go and see this person because they helped me. Since the internet, though, it's been a case of we have to start. We've had to start putting ourselves out there and asking people for reviews. And I'm really bad for that because I forget to ask them. I know I should, but I forget to ask them. And then there are some people who say, well, I don't really know how to do that. And one of our mutual friends said at one point, make a wee template and just get them to fill in the gaps. I say, could you? Is that not cheeky? But then you kind of have to be cheeky in this world today. Otherwise, you're just in the white noise and you're not actually being heard.
And
So-
one of the things that's interesting for me is that so many of the practitioners that have come before me have said it's all about word of mouth. I'm thinking, well, yeah, it might be, but I'm not seeing that's working for me because they need to know what words to put out of their mouths to tell other people how wonderful you are. And sometimes that's not easy to do. So yes, the template thing works. But I think it is that point of we need to ask people, can you just say a little bit about what you experienced? And I know and I understand that, especially with what I do, it's not just allergies and pain. There's a lot more to what I do. Some of that stuff people don't want to talk about. They don't want to have to say I had to get help. They don't want to have to say and admit that they were going through a rough patch for wherever it is. But all I'm looking for from a testimonial or review is I worked with Angela. I liked what we did together. I feel better. That's all it needs to say. And then people can make their own judgments as to what they may have come to me for. But if I'm pitching and talking about allergies and pain, then there's a very good chance that someone's going to assume, well, they've probably gone for pain or they've probably gone for allergies. And there's no judgment beyond that. And I think that's the challenge of being seen to be weak, or I don't want to say that I've had to have help. There's so much that you can still say without actually giving anything away as to what you've come to any of us for support for.
It's another kind of cultural thing. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get your big girl pants on and just go for it, or keep your mouth shut and just swallow it. So, I mean, people who are hitting redundancy, Mary, as well, they've probably had to have a whole different language change and belief change.
It's huge. And and it's just that, like, I know one of the things, and this is for I tell them, you've been at work when you had feedback, people were talking to you, telling you how good you've done. And now you're out, no contacts, much less people, and you have, you're going for interviews, which is absolutely a horrible process until it's brilliant. So you've taken all that positivity that you might have had in the world, it's just gone off a cliff edge. You might have, and so we actually are always saying, find the joy. And I know that the phrase has become bandied about a lot in recent years, but that joy in finding ways of getting your brain to think about what you're good at, getting your brain to look at things you do well. Those simple joys are transformative, particularly for somebody going through redundancy, because you bring it back to the absolute basics and you get them, come on, get the joy into every single day. Every day has joy. Find anything to keep their mindset in the right place so that they can deal with the stuff they have to deal with while they're job hunting. But it's like that everyday stuff. If you tell them, it sounds really ordinary and everyday when you say it, but when you're the person in the middle of it, it actually makes a phenomenal difference. And I think that's where the alchemy is, because it's just at that moment in time, that's when they need it and that's when they get it.
And I think on that one, Mary, when you're saying about find the joy, share the joy as well. So the person that's struggling right now and they're not seeing the joy in the everyday, if someone else says to them, do you know what? I had a great sleep last night. I feel so much better for it. Or whatever that small thing is that they're celebrating for joy, you then look to yourself and think, do you know what? I had that as well myself. Or I might not have had exactly that, but I had this instead. So you then start to share the joy and share the joy and share the joy. And you then start to notice that you're smiling more. And that's contagious.
Highly.
Yeah. It's the belief as well, though, isn't it? Because we believe things, and when we believe things, it's like set in stone to a certain extent. And Willie, you've talked about this before, about the transition, the alchemy of changing from copper and security person with that kind of stiff upper lip and very kind of straightforward and in there, to what you do now. And you had to kind of go through a little transition yourself, didn't you?
A fairly major transition, actually. And I wish I'd known Mary then, because I was made redundant from that bloody security job. And the reason I was made redundant was because I was too bloody good at it. I'd done all the things they wanted me to do, and then they decided, you've done a great job, Willie. We don't think we need your role anymore because we can do it from down south. So, done a great job. Adios, muchachos. And was I annoyed? I can't even begin to articulate how annoyed I was. My wife told me I was a cross between Victor Meldrew from One Foot in the Grave and the Incredible Hulk. And yeah, I was that soldier. However, I I did a coaching course. I learned a few things, how to find joy in small things. And I think back to when I was a very young man, even a lad, my dad and I were sitting outside in the back garden, and there was a bird singing in a tree. And he said, "Isn't that marvellous? God put that bird there to sing to us." And I looked at him as if he was completely off his trolley. And now I have a back garden with a big hedge in it, full of birds, and I sit and listen to the birds chirping, and it's very therapeutic. Right? Just some small, simple thing like that. You've had a bad day, sit and listen to the birds, and they sit and look at you, and you think you're cheeky so and so, and they're looking for some food or whatever they're looking for, or to fill the water bowl or whatever. There's joy everywhere, everywhere, and Angela's quite right. If you've found some joy, whether it be a bird singing or whatever, or my birthday cake, which was absolutely smashing, by the way, share it, which I have done. If you can find joy in any situation, it's a great, great bonus.
Yeah, it is.
It's a shame you can't share cake through Zoom.
Well,
This is true.
Yeah,
it's a
that's.
Cadbury's flake chocolate cake. Can I just tell you? Right, anyway,
Oh, I say,
Ooh,
what's-
that's nice.
there's a bit of joy and happiness right there.
yes.
Absolutely. I can smell it, taste it,
Oh,
enjoy it.
And this is
Gorgeous.
a really good example of it, because we can actually make that happen inside our own imagination. We can feel it, we can taste it, we know what it looks like, we know what it smells like. All those things are going on. So we can help people to get into that. We just need to know what it is that kind of is the key to get in there. So when it comes down to it, some people just don't know because they've never had, they've got blinkers on, they've never had the experience of going outside of their own comfort zone to find something that is going to make them feel joy. And it could also be that basically they don't understand that joy is not necessarily going and buying a pair of Louboutin shoes. That's gratification. So,
To be honest, I've heard that they're not comfy.
Of course, that's not the point. The point is the red soles and the Manhattan
No.
skylines and the
If they're
fact
not-
that you
if they're
paid like
not comfy,
600
I'm not
quid for them.
interested. My joy is having comfy shoes.
Yeah, definitely. That's my joy. My joy is going out in my joy is going out in the garden because it gives me some peace of mind and some space. And that is joyful and it makes me happy. But it's a very interesting thing that happiness is a will-o'-the-wisp. It's not permanent. And that's why we keep seeking it. So if we're seeking it, then we have to know how to make that happen. We have to have the recipe. We have to have the ingredients. But they don't always go in the right order, do they?
But I've often thought that alchemy, I get it something confused with magic. Not hocus pocus magic, it's magic. Right? How was that show you went to? Oh, it's magic. But you don't mean it was magic, it wasn't a magic show, it was a comedy show. It was magic, it's a word we use in the Western Scotland, meaning it was bloody great. So
You're dead brilliant.
pure dead
Pure dead
brilliant.
Yeah.
It was magic. Oh, pure magic, as we say in Glasgow. That was pure magic, by the way. So if you can find magic as well, the same as joy, there's magic all around us. And I think it's sunny here in Scotland. I was on a call earlier with a lady who's in Portugal, and it's raining. So it's sunny in Scotland when it normally rains, and it's raining in Portugal when it's normally sunny. We had a bit of a titter about that, so there was a bit of joy and a bit of humour there. But it's magic. Yeah, it's sunny here, and it's warm. And if I wasn't on this call, I'd be sitting in the back garden with a cold beer, which might still happen, by the way, which again would be magic.
The magic is in the mundane, and that's where people don't look for it. It's like opportunity turning up in a set of overalls. People don't want to see it, because it looks like work. But actually looking for the magic within the mundane is seeing things and having a little bit of idea that that's something to be grateful for because it actually made you feel good. And that is actually an alchemical process inside you. When your mood changes, and we get that kind of wash of emotion that comes over us, and we feel expansive. That's alchemy. And it's like quicksilver. We can't actually bottle it. It'd be great if we could, wouldn't it?
But actually, you don't need to bottle it, because when you start to notice it and you actually take that moment to think, I'm going to look for something. So whether you want to call it joy or gratitude or whatever the latest buzzword for that is, when you start to look for it, you then start to find it. You then start to see it in more and more and more places. And so it becomes a bigger thing and a bigger thing. So it then becomes that kind of rolling stone that's gathering everything up. And before you know it, you're smiling more, the people around you are smiling more, and life feels good. But it just takes that one thing to notice first to start that process.
It's like you were saying the other day there, when you're a hammer, all you see is a nail. So it can go the other way around. I think it's that switching of thought process that we all are here to facilitate with our clients and to make that happen.
Shift it from a hammer and a nail and the damaging effects that can be to a paintbrush, and what fun you can have with a paintbrush.
Oh yeah.
Or mess you can make as well at the same time. But sometimes there's
fun.
joy in the mess.
Fun. That's
there's joy in the mess.
As long as you're not the one cleaning up.
just dispel judgment. If you dispel judgment, it all gets so much easier.
It does. It does.
Yeah, way easier.
And there you said it, dispel. So we have to cast the spell, the magic spell, to say, this can be this way now. And
remember, when you're dispelling the judgment, it's not just dispelling the judgment that you have over other people or that people have over you. It's dispelling the judgment that you've got for yourself.
Absolutely. I think it's the most powerful one to dispel.
Change happens in the person first before the ripple effect goes the other way. Because your mood can change a room.
It can, but other people's good mood can change you too. So it can go both ways. It's bi-directional always. I don't think it's always clear cut.
All it takes is being open to it.
And one person to be positive about it. One person to be proactive and choose.
So we've been talking about how people don't really like to maybe say they've got a problem. How do we help them to know that there is a place where they can come without actually saying, you've got a problem?
One thing you do is don't use the word problem.
Exactly. Never use the word problem. What would you like better in your life? What would you like different?
The thing about problems, words like problems and issues and obstacles and challenges, is that they're inherently negative. And you think, oh my God, you're beat before you start. So I remember being asked in a coaching training course, what word will we use? We'll just use the word things. What things are going on in your life? What things do you want to change, Mary? What things you want to make better? Or in the west of Scotland, we say stuff.
I was going to say stuff, definitely stuff.
Right,
Definitely stuff.
What stuff's going on with you? What stuff is holding you back? Right? And it's a more neutral word, things, stuff. You say, well, actually, I've got this stuff. Not, I've got a problem, because that's you.
Stuff.
I've got some stuff I want to change, or I've got stuff I want to make better. Oh, this is really good stuff there. I wonder if I can improve it.
But I even avoid using the word, what do you want to make better? I avoid that word. What would you like different? Because I sometimes think, if you say, how would you like things to be better? You're already telling them, well, it's not very good right now. And
or just as simple as, how would you like to feel?
Yeah.
How would you, so you're not even saying something has to be different. You're just saying, how would you like to feel? And if it's how you feel right now, brilliant.
Good.
How do we keep it there? And if it's not, how do we get you there?
But the language matters.
Yeah.
The language matters, and matters hugely.
What would you like to happen? What would you like your life to be like in 2 years' time? You're giving a visualization prompt so they can go inside their head and visualize, well, I'd like it to be this, thanks. Well, okay then. How do we get that alchemy? How do we make that change to get you from where you are now to that visual goal, whatever it happens to be, result, outcome? Visualization, a very powerful thing. It's magic. You just ask them to visualize their ideal outcome, or what would you like to happen? Where would you like to be? When we have a friend, and a couple of people out here will know who it is, who's now living in Dubai with her husband and son and dog and horse, living the high life, as it were, because she worked her butt off to get there and continues to do so. Because she had a vision 2 years ago, that's what she wanted to do, and she's made it happen. Pure magic, alchemy.
It's basically just a little bit of elbow grease and going forward and actually making it happen. Nobody's going to do it for
Where do we
you.
buy the elbow grease?
Oh, we actually come with it. It comes as a factory default, but like most things, it gets lost in the wash because it sounds like too much like hard work. And this is it, though. It's the sustaining of the change as well, because sometimes magic is like abracadabra, boom, it's done, it's gone. And does it stay? They don't realize that there has to be something that gets put in every day to make that actually become the change they want to see or the way they want to be in life. Because you can sit and watch the telly all the time and watch like A Place in the Sun or whatever and watch them and say, oh yeah, I could do that better than them. I could do that better. But if you're just sitting there doing that, you're not going to do anything, are you? You're going to be still sitting in the rain, the cold. So yeah, coming in out of the cold, getting out into the good weather, weathering the storms. That's magic too, because you can be hit by a lightning bolt in many ways. What do we do when we have someone who expects that things are going to just be okay right away, but they don't want to do anything about it themselves?
You mean I've said it, and that it should just magically happen with no effort, no energy, and no input from me?
Yeah.
It can be challenging. There are people who think, well, if I've read The Secret, or I've read some other book, I'll just imagine it and it'll just happen. Go, not quite. There's a little bit of work to be done. There's some action steps. I think there's a lovely quote. I think it's Mel Robbins has it. Action trumps motivation every time. And it was one of those ones that had an alchemic effect on me, because I'm in danger saying, oh, well, I'm not motivated, so I can't do anything. And going, no, actually, you get the actions out. The alchemy will happen, but you have to act. It's not just thinking, it's action too.
I typically find that the people that are not wanting to do the work are not the ones that are coming looking for support.
Sometimes
I've had a few.
there's a kind of idea of saving face, or look, I've gone and done something about it because somebody said to them, go and see somebody about that because this is getting ridiculous now. You need to go and get something done about that. And it's like getting somebody to stop smoking. They know they should do it, but do they think they could do it? And they'll actually say to people, yeah, I'm giving it up, I'm giving it up, I'm giving it up. But they never really wanted to in the first place. But it's saving face to say, yes, I'm actually working on it, when they're not. They're manifesting an addiction to the nicotine every time they do it. So there's a kind of backwards manifesting thing going on. When we can manifest that magic in the mundane, or we can manifest the stuckness. Yeah. And that's how easy it is to do.
Change will only happen for people if they want to change, if they commit to change. Saying, I'm going to give up smoking, or I'm trying to give up smoking, or I'm trying to lose weight, or whatever it happens to be, ain't going to happen. There's no alchemy or magic will make that happen. They have to want to, they have to commit to doing it. And that requires action. And I've put posts on LinkedIn quoting the Nike ad, just do it.
Let's do it, yeah.
Or as we say in Scotland, just do it. Because imperfect action always beats perfect inaction. One small step, it's as Mary says, it's take an action, do something. I'm just about to publish a 3-day Get Your Mojo challenge. Get Your Mojo Back challenge. One article of which is taking action. And it doesn't have to be the Superman leap from the ground to the top of a tall building. You do not have to wear red pants and a cape. You just have to do something that's going to get you to the next step, baby steps, whatever it is. Because inactivity never got anywhere. Yeah, you might sit in your comfort zone. You might get nowhere and you're safe and everything's okay. But if you want to progress, grow and develop, there's no substitute for action.
It doesn't always work out the way you expect it to either, and that's something that you have to be adaptable for. And if nothing else, human beings are adaptable. We just forgot to remember that sometimes. And it's like you're going there, you're going down the motorway, and suddenly you see a brown sign and you think, oh, that looks interesting, and I'm kind of tired, I'm going to go in there. It takes you off your journey, but it actually refreshes you, gives you something else, and then brings you back onto where you should be on your line. But it could also take you in another route entirely. But it doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, unless it's a cul-de-sac, and then you're stuck again. But that can be something that happens when people really, really, really don't want to be doing that.
You have a choice though. You can
Yeah.
do it or not do it, right? If you want to do it, you can choose to do it, or you can choose not to do it. And I would say to clients, so you've chosen not to do that. You've chosen not to change. You've chosen not to do this. How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
Are you exactly in the same place as you were yesterday and last year? Yeah, pretty much. But you told me you want to change. You want to move forward, but you're not prepared to learn about it. And that's where I probably have a bit, short, concise, and say, well, if you're not going to do it, there's no point in doing it. So you and I are finished. Adios. I don't say quite that way. I just say, I don't think I can help you anymore. Or I don't think I can help you. Because there's nothing more frustrating, and we all know this, when someone's crying out for help and they know that they need help and they won't take it or they won't do anything about it. In which case you cut your losses and say, fine, that's not me. You're not my client. And if that sounds brutal, I'm very sorry. The ones who come and say, I'm 100% committed, I'm all in, Willie, you and I are going to make this work. Music to your ears. It's like a symphony. You say, great, we're going to do this, it'll cost that, and at the end of it, you'll be there where you want to be. How does that sound? Brilliant, let's go. Magic.
For some people, it's being stuck in the story because they get attention from someone and they could come, Willie, and say that they want to do it. But you actually know from their expressions, from their body language, from what's going on, that they don't really want to be there. They don't really want to do that. They're just doing it because they're getting to tell someone new that story. But what they're doing is they're confirming that story and bedding it in. And then when you say, I can't help you anymore, they trot off to another person. And we call them serial seekers.
You can feel the energy. You can feel when someone's committed. You can feel, as you say, body language, physiology, whatever you want to call it. You can tell when they are going to do whatever needs to be done. You can also tell the tire kickers, the ones who are going through the motions. Oh, I went to see a coach and it didn't really work out. That's because you wouldn't bother your arse, you lazy so-and-so, right?
I think
So,
there is also the element of the secondary gain. So it's not just that they can't be bothered, it's also there's a benefit to staying the same.
yeah,
And it's finding out what is the bigger driver, the change or staying the same. Because if it's staying the same, fine, embrace it. Stay the same. We're not going to work together because you don't want to change anything. But if you do genuinely want to change something, then absolutely. And I think that's exactly what your point was there, Willie. It's the tire kickers or the secondary gainers. There's something else there that's keeping them in that status quo, in that comfort zone. I know you don't like that phrase, Leslie, but it's keeping them in that familiarity place of I know what's going on and they all know me here and I get a benefit from what I do.
Yeah, they're either going to buy the car or they're just going to kick the tire and walk away. You know?
Or stand there kicking the tires for days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean but the thing is that then they're paying for it, and we just have to sort of say, right, that's it. This is there's not enough money in the world to waste time like this. So go and do what you need to do, and if you want to get out of that familiarity loop that you're in, then you can come and see me, but only when. And I have done that with someone who I knew was kicking the tires. And I said to them, you get one shot at this. If you cancel this at any time before we're due to be seen, you do not get a chance to do this again. Do you understand? And they said yes, and they cancelled. And they didn't expect me to say, well, tough.
I think there's also a strong part of what we do as a profession that's all about our ethics. Our
Yeah.
ethics are we're not going to be sitting here letting you come wax lyrical, have a wee moan, and then go away again and pay us every week because it's not helping anybody. So it doesn't make my business look good if I'm not supporting and helping my clients to make those transformations. It doesn't make the client any better if they're constantly paying money after money after money for something that's not working. We need to cut the losses, and maybe it's a horrible way of saying it, but from an ethics perspective, it's not right for us to keep saying, oh yeah, just book in again because nothing's going to change, but I'll keep taking your money. That's not a comfortable place to be, and I think most of us have experienced that situation of
Yeah.
we're
Time
not
to-
right.
I
time to cut
did
it.
I did once tell somebody, you can come and waste your time and spend your money, or you can come and work. Choice is yours. I'll take your money. It worked. They went, what? I said, yeah, if you don't do the actions, that's not on me, that's on you. And I said, I'll happily take your money. I knew the ethics I wasn't really going to, but I said, I'll happily take your money. If you want to spend your money every week, that's on you.
And sometimes
But
it's
this
just
is
that
what you're,
shock
but be very
factor, isn't
clear.
it?
Do you know what you're doing? And they went, oh, 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 um, oh. And then they went away actually went away for 3 months. And then they came back and my God, they turned out to be phenomenal. They did huge work. They just weren't ready.
Yeah.
And I think that to the point you were making, Angela, staying the same became more damaging to them than actually the stress of that was going to be worse than the stress of changing. And so they were ready to do it.
It's
It's the
kind of
only
holding
time
the
I've
mirror
ever
up.
said it though. Yeah, it was the only
Yeah.
time I've ever done that though.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to have that in your toolbox,
Yep.
because the energy that they leave behind as well is that what they're doing is they're putting their bundle of energy down on you, and then walking out the room feeling a little bit better, but not doing anything about it. They're just bringing the same bundle back every time. And it means that we have to reassess what's happening with us as well when it's a constant like that. So, like you did, it was like putting a mirror up and saying, do you see yourself? Do you see what we're doing? Do you see me sitting here? What do you think I am? A wall? So, yeah, I mean, there has to be a contract between the two. That one will be the one who is the advisor and the sign and say, okay, how would you like things to be? What's going on with you? And how can we make that happen? But it's the old thing that, what do you want? I don't know. I don't really know. I don't want. And you get the spaghetti on the wall of everything they don't want. And Joe Vitale says at one point that what they're doing is they're lying to themselves because everybody knows exactly what they want. It's just so buried deep behind all the don't wants that they can very rarely find it until they're taught to dig for it. and get it out. So when we're discussing magic and alchemy, what we're discussing is the transmutation of things that need to change. And the interesting thing is that physiologically, we change all the time. Our bodies change, our cells change. We're on a complete conveyor belt of change everywhere that goes on in our body. We get renewed, or something goes away, or something comes back, or whatever. It's all going on there. So we are actually alchemists because we're always changing. So think about that the next time you hear a blackbird, first thing in the morning or last thing at night. And just think, he's a sentinel. He's telling me it's time to wake up or time to go to bed. Because that's what he's doing. Or thinking that, oh, look, it's sunny and it was supposed to rain today. How does that make you feel? Or winning a game of something. And it could be a game of chess, could be a game of drafts, could be a game of cards. It makes you feel good. Oh, I beat that, I beat myself, I beat my own record. That's great. So let's not be judgmental. Let's think about change and understand the joy that can be found inside there in the alchemy. And we'll see you again sometime soon. Bye-bye.